Good morning. A little bit of a late start, but let's get a little bit done at least. So today, the next 2, perhaps 3 days, we're going to look at defining Oir and Keli. That was the other option that got got a few votes. So again, I think I mentioned this yesterday or 2 days ago. Once you get into something, you kind of get pulled to do it more and more, start exploring it. So I keep on exploring the Rebbe's index to Tanya. And the Rebbe here has 3 entries. One for Oir, in and of itself. Another entry for Kalim. And another entry for Oir and Keli. 3 entries. And in the entry for Kalim, good morning, Mayor. In the entry for Kalim, the Rebbe actually cites and says, look at the entry for Oir and Keli. But on the entry for Oir, he doesn't say to look at the entry for Oir and Keli. Right? I just say that the Rebbe has 3 entries, one for Oir, one for Kalim, and one for Oir and Keli. Yeah. So in the entry for Oir, he just gives us different sources. In the entry for Oir and Kalim, he gives us different sources. In the entry for Kalim, he gives us sources, and he says, look in the entry for Oir and Kalim. As if to say, and this is what I want to get to maybe tomorrow or day after, the next class, is that when we're looking at Oidus and Kalim, there are 3 things to look at. Number 1, Oir, light. Number 2, Kalim, the vessel. And number 3, the Oir and Keli's interaction. Okay, 3 different things. We first have to understand what an Oir is, we have to understand what a Keli is, and then understand how they interact. Now, understanding Oir in and of itself is something we'll be able to do. Understanding Kalim in and of itself is going to be very hard to do without understanding how Oir interacts with a Keli. As we're going to see, it's almost impossible to imagine a Keli that doesn't have an Oir reflecting in it, as we'll explain. So it would make sense, therefore, that when it comes to Oir, the Rebbe just gives us citations. When it comes to Oir and Kalim, citations. When it comes to Kalim, it gives us citations, but also says, go look at Oir and Keli. Because Keli in and of itself doesn't really work without having Oir reflecting it. In fact, one of these citations, or it's interesting. In Oir and Kalim, there's 4 citations. In Kalim, there's 3. The 3 citations that are in Kalim are 3 out of the 4 that are in Oir and Keli. So never says, look at Oir and Keli, he's only adding 1 more citation. So it's not the citation he's adding, because he could have just added the citation. What he's really adding is to understand, seemingly, that a Keli in and of itself only operates with an Oir. And that will be seen in that 4th citation that I'd like to highlight. Okay, so where are we going? Today we're going to talk about Oir, using the citation that Rebbe uses for Oir. Next week we'll talk about Kalim, tomorrow's Friday. So tomorrow we'll talk about Kalim itself. But as we talk about Kalim itself, using that 1 citation that's in the Oir and Keli, that's not in the Keli, but the Rebbe tells us in Kalim to look at Oir and Kalim, we're going to see what it means that we'll talk about Kalim in and of itself, but also understand how Kalim don't really have any function unless there's an Oir reflecting in it. Okay, so Oir, Keli, and then Oir and Keli together, but Kalim in and of itself without Oir really doesn't have anything. This is where we're going. Yeah, clear?
Yeah. Could we say that it's similar to the definitions we discussed earlier on, which is like a soida mamale?
I thought you were going to say a slopshus in clothing. Not really. Because Sev Mamala are 2 different artists, which we'll get to eventually.
And Makav and Pnimi?
Makav Pnimi is similar to Sev Mamala, which we'll get to. You know that definition. But Oir and Keli, okay, we'll get to that already next time, but it definitionally is Pnimi.
Right.
Definitionally, if the Oir is in the Keli, it's Pnimi already, as we'll explain. But I thought you were going to say it's connected to the definition of a slopshus, where the Oir is the slavish, is enclosed in the Keli, which we will get to when we get to that citation in the second part. So today we're going to focus on the definition of Oir itself. Okay, so when it comes to Oiris, the Oir, which is different entry than Oir and Sof. There is 1 entry for Oir, and 1 entry for Oir and Sof. 2 different entries.
And one comes from the other?
Because they're 2 different. Understanding what Oir in and of itself is different than understanding what the infinite Oir is.
Right.
Okay. Now, in the entry for Ur, there's quite a few citations, but only one from book 1 of Tanya, right? The first half of Tanya. There's 1, 2, 3 from book 2, Shaykh Muna, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 from Igeres HaTshuva, Igeres HaKodesh, part 4 of Tanya. So only one entry from book 1, which is interesting because, of course, the word Ur appears more than one time in Sefer Shabbatim in the first half of Tanya, but that only cites to one. Which one does he cite to? So I want you to take the Tanya and we'll read it together. You'll see how it's a very small line in the Tanya, and actually seemingly only quoted as an aside, right? It's only quoted as an aside, but that on aside, brackets actually gives us the greatest definition of what Ur is, even though it's only in Tanya as an aside. So I want to show you this, the entry. Go to page 752. Numbers on the bottom, 752. Yeah, you see it, 752. Right hand side, Ur. Yeah. The first entry is Aleph, Nun Aleph, which means book 1, chapter 51. The rest is Beis, book 2, Gimel, chapter 3, Beis, Yud, etc. So what does it say by Aleph, Nun Aleph? Tam, you see the brackets there?
Yeah.
Tam l'kinei Ur. The reason why we're calling it Ur. That's the best thing we want. If we're trying to define Ur, let's find where the Tanya says this is the reason why it's called light. And that's the first entry. Tam l'kinei Ur. In chapter 51 of book 1, there's a line there which explains why it's called Ur. Okay, so let's go to chapter 51 and find where the Alter Rebbe says why it's called Ur. Okay, what does 51 talk about?
Shemesh b'shemesh.
Okay, that's going to be the light of the sun inside the sun. That's already in Shaykh Muna, right? Okay, but the first entry is the best one. The reason why it's called Ur, which is what we want to do. We're trying to define Ur. So let's see why is it called Ur. All right, so let's go to page 271, which is chapter 51, where the Alter Rebbe says why it's called Ur, and it's mamish in brackets, which is amazing. It's a by the way, but the Rebbe zeroes in on that for the entry on Ur, even though of course the word Ur appears many more times in book 1 of Tanya, but here it gives the reason for why it's called Ur. So let's see. You see in the middle of the page there's a square brackets. Yeah.
Yeah. Shazeh.
Shazeh, that this Echad Matamim is one of the reasons that the drawing forth and the flow of energy of life. Mechuna is given the terminology B'Shem Or Al Derech Mashal, the word light by way of example. So it's in brackets, but in the brackets says the Alter Rebbe, oh, by the way, what I just told you, that's why it's called Ur. One of the reasons why it's called Ur, and this there besides too as the citation, because it actually gives you a reason for why it's called Ur. It doesn't just talk about light in general. Many places talk about light, but when you want to get a definition for light, here the Alter Rebbe says this is why it's called light. Okay, so what does the Alter Rebbe say that helps us understand why it's called light? With me?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm taking you my train of thought as I'm preparing the class, basically. All right, so what does the Alter Rebbe say in chapter 51? In 51, the Alter Rebbe is trying to explain how the Shekhinah, we spoke about this recently because it's toward the end of Tanya. The Alter Rebbe is trying to explain how on the one hand, the Shekhinah is equally present everywhere. Hashem's presence is equally everywhere, and yet it's manifested and revealed in one place specifically. Remember that whole discussion? How Hashem is everywhere, but at the same time, we say the Shekhinah is in the Beis Hamikdash. Isn't he everywhere? So he explained at great length that there's a difference between presence versus manifestly being revealed. Just like a person's own experience. The nefesh, the neshama, is equally in the body everywhere. I can't say that my life is less in my finger than it is in my head. I can't say that. It's equally everywhere. And yet, as that life is manifest within my body, I can clearly say it begins in my head is more aware of it, and from my head it goes to my finger. Even though, technically speaking, it's equally everywhere. But in terms of manifest, revealed within, there are distinctions. Right? And therefore, like, my head is a central nervous system for the life of my entire body. Even though, technically speaking, the body is equally alive everywhere. Yes, remember this?
Yeah.
So therefore, same thing is true. The world at large is, Hashem's presence is equally everywhere. And yet, at the same time, there are specific places in which Hashem's presence is manifest first. And we spoke, it's connected to purpose. And therefore, the place where Hashem's purpose is going to be revealed, that's where Hashem's presence is going to be manifest first. And from there to the rest of the creation, etc., etc. That's 51, 52, 53. Right? Okay. So specifically here at this point, what does he say that triggers the Alter Rebbe to say, and this is why it's called light? What does he say? So let's back up 3 lines before that brackets.
But there's just one thing I want to clear up.
Yeah?
The Oren is that the Ein Sof, but we don't, it's light, but we don't see it.
The Aron of the Beis Mikdash?
Yeah.
It's not the Ein Sof actually. Because it's manifest within creation. Ein Sof definitionally is infinite. So it's beyond creation. This is manifest within creation. So it is the Ein Sof, but it's the Ein Sof as it is Shekhinah, as it is manifest within creation, as you spoke about at length in those classes. Okay, so the answer is yes and no, in a way. It's a manifestation of the Ein Sof within our world. That's the Shekhinah. All right, so what does he say? Now let's go back here. What does he say in the line just before the brackets that tells the Alter Rebbe, that triggers the Alter Rebbe to say in the parentheses, by the way, this is why it's called Ur. Yes? That's what we want to see. So 3 lines before in the after the period. See it? V'havdel. Says the Alter Rebbe, Hashem's presence is equally everywhere. The same way Hashem is there in the upper spiritual worlds, Hashem is equally present in the lower worlds. As far as Hashem is concerned, His presence is equally manifest every place, spiritual and physical. So what makes a higher world different than a lower world? If Hashem is equally present everywhere anyway, so what makes one higher or lower? Who this is? That's only with respect to the drawing forth of that life. Asher ein soif, at the infinite one, blessed be He, Baruch Hu. The way in which Hashem decides to express His life from its concealed state into its revealed state, that's what makes the difference between a higher world and a lower world. Here it's revealed more, here it's revealed less. Here the Alter Rebbe says, oh, by the way, that's why it's called Ur. Why is it called Ur? What did he just say? It told us that's why it's called Ur. The key word is Gilui Ha'elam. You see the words there? Gilui Ha'elam?
Right.
Revealing that which is concealed. Which means like this. What does revealing that which is concealed mean?
The aura is always there. So it just has to.
What does that mean? It means like this. Gilui Ha'elam means like this. There's a few things Gilui Ha'elam means, and it's best. Where's the time?
It's 6:55, I guess.
That's 57.
Okay, we'll just say 2 words, and we'll continue this tomorrow. What makes Gilui Ha'elam means 2 things in the one hand that are kind of opposites from each other. On the one hand, it means the light was always there. I'm just revealing it. On the other hand, what it means is I don't have the source itself. I only have something that the source is revealing from itself. But the source itself I don't have.
Right.
Which is literally what happens by light. Light exists inside the sun. I don't have the sun here. I have light from the sun. But on the other hand, nothing new arrived here. It's just a revelation of what already was.
Right.
So 2 things simultaneously. A, I don't have the source. I only have a ray from the source. And B, it's not something new here. It's a revelation of what already was. And that's why we're using the example of Ur. To describe that Hashem's investment in creation is A, not the totality of the source, it's only a ray from the source. Like a revelation that's coming out of the sun. A. B, there's nothing new here. It's just a revelation of Hashem's light that already was. It's not as if Hashem created some new thing called energy. It's just expansion of what He already is. So it's an expansion of what He already is, and at the same time, not the source itself, only revelation of the source. And number 3 comes out like this. The entire function of the ray is to express the source. That's the entire function of the ray, is to be faithful to the source. It's the entire function. So 3 things. You don't have the source itself, it's only a ray from the source. B, there's nothing new here, it's just to extract and reveal what already was. And C, what did I say with C? The entire point of the ray is to remain faithful to the source. Okay, so we're going to unpack these 3 things, and that'll give us a very clear understanding of what the word Ur means. That we'll do tomorrow, and we'll compare it to another word that other Kabbalistic schools use to describe Hashem's energy, which is Shefa. Chassidus, when it describes Hashem's flow of energy, uses the word Ur. And Alter Rebbe says, this is one of the reasons why we're using the word Ur. Right, that's what we just learned. Using the word Ur as opposed to what? As opposed to other groups of Hasidic, of Kabbalistic schools of thought, that uses the word Shefa, flow. So we'll compare Shefa to and see how in Shefa, the three things I just mentioned don't exist. I do have the source. It's not just to reveal what already was. Something new arrived here. And the point is not just to be reflective of the source. Okay, but all those three things exist in but don't exist in Shefa. And it's all going to be reflected in the lines here. Okay.
Well, if you were to make a simple analogy, and the third step doesn't work in my thought process, but the first two, let's say if I give you a present that's in a box that's wrapped with a lemon inside, and then you would unwrap it and then you get the lemon. So you don't have
the Alter Rebbe wouldn't call that Gilead Helam.
But you don't have the tree.
That's not Gilead Helam.
You don't have the lemon tree.
That wouldn't be Gilead Helam.
Why? Because the third one doesn't apply.
Gilead Helam doesn't mean that I had a veil behind it and I pulled the veil back. Gilead Helam means I had within me the potential to run, and now I ran. So I revealed my potential. Not concealed in the sense that I had a shield behind it. Right? So the sun itself is a ball of potential for light, and I revealed the potential. Right? Not that I had a veil and I unveiled it.
Right.
That's Pek Gilead Helam. Okay, we'll unpack them more tomorrow, but yes, good. You're on the right track.
And you had it always within you the entire time.
Correct. You always had it within you. Now you just manifest it, that's all.
Right.
That's the part, exactly. Yeah. Okay, exactly.
Yeah.
Have a good day.